Today on the show, we talk about family values and stabbing. Welcome to Lore Party, the podcast that explores the stories, characters, and universes of our favorite video games. I'm Bruce.
And I'm Kevin.
And today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic I've been wanting to see if we could do, because since we did Ezio the last time, I wanted to do not so much a character as it is like a set of characters. I wanted to talk about the Kenways.
The entire family.
Yes, all three of them. Let's see, only two of them have their own games, but I think definitely there's a lot to unpack. We're also going to be talking about the events that happened. This is going to be a two-part series. The first is going to be talking about Edward Kenway and Haytham Kenway, followed by Haytham and Connor Kenway. So this is going to be spanning across Assassin's Creed 3, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, Assassin's Creed Rogue, and the Assassin's Creed tie-in novel Forsaken. I love the Kenways, as you might have been able to guess. I find their entire family just a hodgepodge of emotional trauma and a mess of mistakes, but it really, God, it's just really interesting to see.
They are really, I would say if Ezio was the super important individual, they are the super important family. Like that's just what it is.
Yeah, I think we talked about this before, where it was kind of like, you know, the Kenways are almost like the Skywalkers, or like, you know, the Hamlet and his crazy messed up family, in just the ways that it's just this one, you know, this important clan of you know, special somethings who are just rife with emotional baggage that make them just a danger to themselves and others.
Yeah, they really have a
No, you can say it. Go ahead.
They have a lot of problems. Like they are like, you know, when you're a kid and you want to hang out with this, you know, you meet some kid at school and you want to hang out with them, and you're like, hey mom, I met this kid at school, and like your parents probably went to high school with the parents or whatever, and they're like, no, you stay away from them. No, we can't do that. Like that's basically them.
I was thinking of just like, hey, you meet this one kid and like he's like, oh yeah, we're having like dinner at my place. Do you want to come? And we're like, oh yeah, sure. And then you go to their place and it's just a fucking madhouse. It's just like the dad's like, why is the dog upstairs? And like the wife is just like, you never love me. And like,
oh my God.
the siblings are just like, I'm running away for the 4th time this week. And you're just like, what's happening? And your friend's just like, come on, my mom made lasagna.
Yeah, basically. As soon as you started saying it, I'm like, oh yeah, so Italian family. Okay, cool. Just a regular Italian family, like in like Jersey or something. Like, yeah, that's just it. That's just it right there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's any family, but I've been to a few friends' places like that.
Yep.
But yeah, the Kenways are just like this wealth of drama, and we're going to talk about one of the most dramatic of them all, the OG granddad Kenway, Edward. But yeah, so we start off with Edward. He was actually not the first one introduced. That was Connor Kenway, the Native American assassin, Assassin's Creed 3. But then we kind of follow him, his lineage, back to Edward Kenway in the golden age of piracy. So it is no secret, I hate Edward. I think he's an asshole. Just huge dick. But as I was doing more research and as I learned more about him, that kind of shifted. But in the game, in Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, he's a dick.
I hate him. I always thought he was shit. I mean, that entire game, personally, I did not think that was a very good Assassin's Creed game. I thought it was a good pirate game.
It was a kick-ass pirate game.
It was a pirate game. Yeah, fuck yeah. This guy's a pirate.
Fuck
Like
yeah.
this, it was a great pirate game. But for Assassin's Creed, I was just like, this is shit.
So let me break this down for everyone, for our listeners at home. Edward Kenway was a drunken Welsh privateer who wanted to make his claim for fame and gold and glory, with to bring money back to his wife over in Wales, and did so through privateering, which is basically legal piracy. And you would just be, going on these ships and just fucking people over. And you know what? He plays the part of a pirate amazingly well. He's great at it. So at one point, he and his crew and his ship, he's not even the captain, they just get murdered, just destroyed by this other much bigger, much more competent ship. But a storm kind of takes them both out. He's ended up stranded on an island with this assassin who he does not know is an assassin. He's just like some dude. And somehow, that's what pisses me off the most about Edward Kenway. This is a trained assassin who, does well in combat, hand-to-hand, blades, and he just kills him. He just decimates him, with nothing but like 2 cutlasses, when this guy has hidden blades and, whatever else he has on his arsenal. He takes his shit, sees that he has a note, figures out some sort of like meetup. And so he, puts on the clothes, takes his name, goes to, I believe Havana, and, gets the gold or whatever. He is then confronted by Captain Kidd, who turns out to be an assassin, and reveals, hey, what you just did was really fucking stupid. Why did you do that? And he's just like, gold. And everyone in the Caribbean Brotherhood is just like, you're such a douche. But Captain Kidd is just like, wait, he's special. And so that was pretty much why the Brotherhood didn't cut him where he stood then. And then they also said just you're going to help us with this because now we have no home and you have ruined everything. And he is very much okay with siding with the assassins after helping for their downfall. But it was more on that he was really pissed that the Templars didn't give him enough money. And so he wanted to just kind of screw them over. And it was just his motivations were all out of the place of being a real assassin. And I was just very it was all unearned. He was an asshole. He did this for money. He kept doing it for money. Yep. And then he just kept getting drunker and drunker. And I hated watching this. I hated watching his entire journey.
It just feels really lazy, and it feels like they focused more on the pirate aspect and the story of piracy and all that kind of stuff, which is all well and good, but they did not focus on the assassins. All they focused was on hey, you're a pirate, you're not an assassin. You're a pirate, you're not an assassin. You're a pirate, you're not an assassin. And it's over and over and over again the entire freaking game.
And there was a great happy medium that probably could have been made if they had more time. I remember the cinematic trailer for the Black Flag game, where it just has Blackbeard just praising Edward, just he's a devil dressed as a man, and you don't cross him, and he's amazing and he's cool, and I thought that was what Edward was gonna be, but then I'd play the game and he's just this drunken douchebag, and I'm just that's not what I'm here for.
It's so funny that you mentioned the trailer, because when I heard it and that exact line, I was just listening to it and I'm like, hey, he's it's like Jaws. He's got dog's eyes. You ever look into a shark's eyes? That's how it felt to me. I was like, oh, right. Cool, this will be pretty cool. And then I'm with you. I was just like, this is
I was just mad because
boring.
Yes, it you can be being a pirate and being an assassin is probably one of the worst kind of balances you could do, but you could do it because it could just be a more anarchic kind of way of being an assassin, where there's stealth, where you need to be, but he would be a bit, honestly, he could do with being a bit edgier just as a pirate, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Him being just like this. Sorry, we're getting off topic, but like, it sucks that everyone sees Edward like that, because I read the book Forsaken, and it is the it is a tie-in novel after Assassin's Creed Black Flag, where you kind of figure out the events that led to Haytham being who he is, and what happened to Edward. So after he left his pirating life, he became, he just worked with the English assassins and basically was good at his job. He was competent, and he spent most of his time just, compiling all the information about First Civilization artifacts as best he could. And, he did a great job, and he became a master assassin of the English division of the Brotherhood. He remarried, and he had a son named Haytham Kenway. Now, this is where things start to get a little dark.
No, this is where it really starts to. This is where it really starts to get a little Star Wars-y.
Yeah. So the Kenways run into this nice chap named Reginald Birch, and he just becomes a family friend. He falls in love with his Edward's daughter and Haytham's older sister, Jenny or Jennifer, and he's just very nice, and he wants to help the family. And he's even brought on to kind of be, the godfather for Haytham, and just he really did like the family. Too bad he was a Templar, and he taught him how to be a Templar. He taught him the philosophies and the the goings on of the order. And Haytham then graduated to become a Templar. He was dispatched through Birch to do a bunch of different missions, and he grew to love being a Templar. And Birch was his father figure after his dad died. This was around the time that he was then dispatched over to North America to find artifact or a precursor site, and there he fell in love with a Native American woman, and had a great time with her. Leaving that to where it was, he then kind of went back on a fight to find his sister, and he was able to find her still alive, but in slavery, and she revealed to him who the real orchestrator of the assassination of his father was. Birch. And it was...
Dun, 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 dun!
It was a very difficult time for him. He was racked with a lot of feelings, but mostly anger. And he and his sister, basically fought him. It was a really cool sequence, and it ended with Jenny fighting him and then pushing him onto a blade that Haytham had at the door. And it was a very huge turning point for Haytham of just okay, I avenged my father, but I also now know my father is an assassin. Haytham never had a game, but God, I wish he did, because I think he's this really cool guy who's debonair, and he's like a colonial James Bond. That's what I've always kind of seen him as.
Well, I want to unpack a little bit of that.
Let's unpack. Quick. So
that was a lot. That was just here's a word dump of lore.
And we're halfway through the fucking family. Yeah, we haven't even started on his.
Yeah, this is just
son.
The tip of the iceberg.
Right.
Okay, so first things first. Edward's death. We're going to talk about that for 2 seconds.
Let's talk about
this is what
Edward's
I'm going to talk. I remember we kind of spoke about this after we recorded the Ezio episode, because we kind of started planning this one, and we started talking for 20 minutes, and we're like, oh shit, we should just stop and just record this. Here's my thing on Edward and his death and everything.
Yes.
Edward was shit, and then he wasn't. And that's just how it is. It was a one kind of redemption thing. His wife dies. He gets it. He's like, oh crap, none of this is justified anymore. I'm going to have to, now it's not
becomes
about my wife.
He becomes a good man, a good father, and a good assassin.
That's the thing. He starts to give a shit about the creed.
And I wish we saw that. I wish we actually saw that in real fucking time.
I wish they did it at the end of Assassin's Creed 4, where like after the credits, you see his death and then you see the beginning of Haytham, because the whole thing about it is like you don't really read it. Not everybody reads it. I mean,
well, hold on. Did you see the after credits scene of Assassin's Creed 4?
yes.
So it did show Haytham like taking Edward taking Haytham to
the show that Haytham was like, oh, this is my dad's show that I saw with my father.
It was a callback to the first scene in Assassin's Creed 3.
So like that's a nice reveal, but I think it would be cooler to show Edward finally giving a shit about the creed, because that's the thing. He finally gives a shit and understands the creed and starts following it, only to just die. And it's like, oh man, that's you finally did it, and it was taken away. And I think that is really sad, because it's like when you finally teach, like you have a kid in high school who's learning an instrument, and the teacher's like super happy about it. Like, yes, we're the teacher. We're like, yes, you're finally getting it. You're finally doing this instrument. Wow, you're doing really well. And then they also play football though, and then they break their arm and never pick the instrument up again. And that's basically him. Like, you are the broken arm. You are done. Goodbye. And I think that's really sad, because as a fan of the series and the franchise and everything, and just watching it and just being like, man, it finally got good, just to take it away. And the other thing is about Birch, I mean, this dude is just one manipulative piece of shit, okay? Once I
That's
was
a Templar
like...
for you.
No, dude. Okay, so don't tell Lawrence that. Boo better keep that. So basically, when I was hearing, like, you kind of reiterate, it reminded me of this really messed up documentary I watched on Netflix about this guy who he's a child molester. He's a really fucked up human being. He's manipulative. He's really messed up. But he meets this family, and he like becomes really nice with them and starts doing stuff for them. And then, but like he's doing that to manipulate them and like manipulate the kids and manipulate the parents. And the whole series is just like everybody's stupid anyway, but he manipulates this, like Birch manipulates like a master assassin, and like obviously all the other assassins know like something's up. Like Birch, like, who's that? And like he's obviously going to talk about it with his assassin's friends, like, oh yeah, Birch is coming over for, tea and crumpets, like, stuff like that. Like that, I don't know why he would sound like that, but that's the thing. So I just find it really odd that like Birch just was so good at manipulation. And the thing is, like, okay, so you find your sister, you figure it out and all that, and you kill Birch, but he stays a Templar, and that's where I'll let you continue.
Yeah.
Well, no, because
why do you think that is?
Well, I'm actually going to say that what you told me the other day was perfect. He not only being raised on an ideology. I mean, any form of ideology that you're raised on is technically an indoctrination. You don't know anything else really. And whatever you do know may tell you like, hey, the other way is wrong. And that's all you know, is that all I know is it's wrong. And I've been told my entire life that this way is justified. And I think that has a part in it. But I also feel like he genuinely, after watching like Haytham's life, he definitely genuinely believes in like the creed of the
Templar
Templars.
Yeah, he's grown up like this, but like you can see it in his personality and the way that he talks and the way that he is motivated. It is by reason, it is by understanding, and it is by knowledge.
He is a smart motherfucker too. Like, he is a smart dude.
He is witty, he is confident, he is resourceful, he knows what and how to do everything and anything possible. And I don't know, like, you wish you could see, an alternate universe where Haytham grows up with his father's tutelage to become an assassin, but could he even be the same person? Because he lends himself so well to be a Templar, it's almost like he was made to be one.
And that's what I'm saying, is like, I think he has this strange attraction emotionally to his dad, because now it's like I never really got to know my real dad. I knew him a little bit and he was taken away from me. And to him, I don't think it's about assassins and Templars. I think in his mind, it genuinely is like, hey, my dad was taken away from me. Fuck you. Like I think that's in his mind. And I think the other thing is we'll touch upon this in the next episode as well, but I think before Connor, I think that was a really big deal to him. And I think after he finds out he has a kid, I mean, he genuinely actually sometimes tries to get his son to join him. And I think there's a part of him who's like, I didn't have a real dad. Shit, maybe I should try. And I think that's part of it. I think he's got so much emotions bottled up, and he's never learned how to use them, if you will. Like, that's not a thing, you know? So he's unbelievably flawed, but I feel like he's not flawed in the sense of a character being flawed, like don't get me wrong. Yes, he does not like to admit he's wrong and that kind of stuff. I think that's a flaw, yes. But I mean, like, he has just so much sadness.
He's been through a lot.
When I think of him, like, he was my favorite thing about Assassin's Creed 3. Like, in terms of assassins and characters and stuff, like, I felt really fucking bad for this guy.
He could never really catch a break. And he was he was caught in the middle of all of this.
It just sucks. I just felt bad for him.
It really does.
Knowing his backstory before Assassin's Creed 3, it's just very like, oh man, dude, that sucks. Yeah. Like, Ezio had it bad too. Don't get me wrong. I'm with you on that. Ezio had it. He saw everybody die.
At least he wasn't like raised by the Borgia.
Oh God, no! Thank God. Oh God. Oh boy, no. But it's. I mean, the dude went through some shit, and that's gotta fuck a person up.
Haytham's just think about definitely that. Like, probably one of the most interesting of the characters in the franchise, just in terms of like his upbringing and his death and his connection with other main characters. He never got his own game, but he was always the supporting character in like 3 different games, and it was worth it because he was a very like important character. Like,
he's a very big deal.
So what I did want to kind of end on this discussion was like knowing the first and second generation of the Kenway family. Obviously, between the two, there was a lot going on, but I feel like Edward was, you know, and chime in if you agree or disagree, but Edward had trouble maturing. But Haytham had...
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna agree with that. I'm not even gonna let you finish. Yes, absolutely. That dude was an immature piece of shit.
Yeah, he had like Peter Pan syndrome.
Yes, he reminded me of a child who was like, I'm gonna become famous and rich by, you know, being a pirate. Yeah, like that's literally him.
But he had the easiest transition from douchebag asshole to father and respected member of community. Haytham had the exact opposite problem. He grew up way too fast, and he also just had a very difficult time with connections. And that's, that's really it. And, these first and second generations of the Kenways are suffering from, alcoholism, childhood trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Well, why do you think he had such difficulty connecting with people?
I don't know.
I wonder why.
Well, that about wraps it up. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, please take a second to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps us grow the show. And be sure to connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at lore_party. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.